ahead and go over Joppa's stream now, actually. Let's go ahead and just cover it. So Joppa's stream was about 4 hours long this time. I know recently he said he was not going to go into question and answer mode. The last hour and a half of it was literally just question and answer mode. Didn't show much of anything, but we'll get to that as we go. It started out though. The very beginning, they talked about the con system. This is about 10 minutes in or something. So he kind of went over the con system. We've gone over that multiple times in the past. So if you don't know the changes to the con system, the quick version of that is they're going to be spreading out the con system so that it kind of levels with you, giving you a larger range of enemies to kill, so you actually get experience off of mobs for a longer period of time. That is kind of the goal of that. So mobs will not be just green through red up 5 levels above or below you. It'll actually spread those out a little bit farther. So hopefully that helps out with some of the XPing where things do not become, he said, quote unquote, trivial, which I don't believe they become trivial at all because gray mobs, how they work, but that's a whole other story, which the con system is part of and hopefully will fix in the future. But that was basically what happened during that section. More substantial upgrades are coming now that Unity 6 is behind them. Fingers crossed on that one. Hopefully we do start getting some more substantial upgrades or updates. Those things will include, new things to the crafting system, new abilities for our characters, all of that. We'll actually talk about more abilities on our characters later on because he kind of went over that in a little bit more detail. But those kind of things should start to come very, very soon since Unity 6 update took so long to get out there. No update on the Druid release date. It is still in the works. It's very close to being finished, according to Joppa, but no update on the when on that. It was the last date that we were given was February 19th. However, that was all based on Unity 6 going in like 2 weeks ago and not when it did. So let's see, next 20-minute mark, discussion about items and gearing, no color system. Basically, no color system meaning we're not going to have, green items, blue items, purple items, and then gold items, which are like those tier systems if you've ever played something like World of Warcraft, where you have, a color-based system that tells you kind of what it is. And then stats have weight. He kind of went over that a little bit more, saying that stats actually have weight. A lot of people were feeling like they are not getting substantial upgrades because some of our stats, as you can see, like this is actually from a decent drop here. It's only got 2 intelligence, 2 charisma, 10 mana. A gear upgrade might be 3 intelligence, 2 charisma, 10 mana. So you're not getting like these huge bumps. And he kind of went over that a little bit. We'll start seeing more of that as more content gets added. But we do have items like this right here, which is 2 stamina, 2 intelligence, 3 cold resist. But it says wearing this sash empowers the damage of your cold spells. This comes off of one of the seer mobs. So the named seer that is up in Hangor. Things like that are your big ticket items that you're trying to get to. And that's what he was trying to convey to the viewers during the stream was, you're going to get these small upgrades, these incremental upgrades, but overall it's going to give you much more power as you get through the game and you get a lot of these little upgrades. That's the goal of where they're trying to go with that, at least my understanding. 28 minutes in, he was talking about more wild blood stuff in Silent Plains. So if you don't know, there are some wild bloods, some new wild bloods in Silent Plains. They're in the low 30 area. And that stuff is coming in. Of course, he's going to continue to add to that. And then Ash Breathers will be the next thing. I'm going to talk about more content coming later on. Later on in the stream, he talked about that. 32, he's going over some of the abilities. So 32 minutes in, he's going over some of the abilities that the Wild Bloods can do. Lots and lots and lots of knockbacks, knock-ups, knockdowns. These are things that I personally think, if you ask me, are lazy for a developer to do. They're not fun for me when I play as a tank because I'm constantly just getting knocked around and pushed over all over the place. And it basically makes my class not enjoyable. But these are the things that he has added. to those wild bloods. Hopefully, we'll get some different things. He is talking about doing synergies between different types of mobs. So you might have like an Earth Shaker wild blood and then a Druid wild blood. And if those two are together fighting you at the same time, there might be some sort of synergy there and they do some special ability. That was just an example that I gave, not one that he gave, but he basically said that certain types of wild bloods might do different types of synergies. Let's see, 50 minutes in, he talked about the placeholder versus dungeon instancing. And basically what he said here was when he played World of Warcraft, he hated doing dungeons over and over and over. That was something that he really did not enjoy, going after like one item in one dungeon. He had to sit there and go through the entire dungeon. Could take 30, 45 minutes to go through the entire dungeon just for that one possible drop. And he prefers the placeholder idea of you go and you camp an area that has a placeholder in it, and then you continue to kill that placeholder until the name pops, and hopefully you get the item. Some people were saying, hey, that's just as boring as going through the same dungeon over and over, and Joppa seems to disagree with that, but that is where he's currently at with that. He didn't like the repetitiveness of doing a dungeon in World of Warcraft, but doesn't mind the repetitiveness of doing the same area over and over. So, I mean, I personally, I understand where Joppa's coming from. I feel the same way, but I just wanted to throw that out there because that is a topic of discussion during the stream. Very long discussion about placeholders versus random location spawns, etc. That was all around that 50-minute mark until about the 59-minute mark. So he was getting... going over basically the difference between placeholders, etc. We've gone over that many times, but that's kind of if you want to look up that part. At 59-minute mark, Joppa went in for PvP. He was doing some PvP with a couple of other devs. If you want to see that, go to about the 59-minute mark. And it is just a little bit of PvP, nothing special, nothing amazing, but they did have a couple fights between him and Fuso, I believe, or Fumo, whatever his name was. Between the two of them, they fought a couple of times. So that happened. No friendly fire if you are in a group or in a guild with somebody. There will be no friendly fire on those. So even if you are casting a spell, and he shows this off during the stream, if you're mid-cast of a spell and then you join the group before the spell finishes, it actually cancels out the spell at the... Well, it'll cast the spell, but at the end, nothing will happen. So basically... you can cast the spell, but nothing hurts your friends. More PvP testing stuff with concealment around the 1 hour, 9 minute mark. And then around the hour, 18-minute mark, they talked about server consolidation. This is not something that is necessarily coming soon or anything like that, but it is something that they are considering possibly in the future of consolidating servers, to bring more players, since we have had an influx or an exodus, I guess, of players as of late. So some servers are starting to feel a bit on the dead side, but right now they're not really looking at that until maybe after Druid comes in. This is just an assumption on my part, but trying to see if those numbers come back up based on current updates, and then possibly doing some sort of consolidation. Patch times and days are continuing for Wednesday about the same time that they have been going. Joppa is not going to be talking about when those dates and times are, but the plan is to continue on Wednesdays about the same time. Of course, this is all up to the tech team, so we'll have to wait for announcements on when those are coming. So we still may not get them every Wednesday, but that is currently still the plan, if they can push them out on Wednesday. A lot more talk about lighting around the 1 hour 43 minute mark. Of course, we talked about that ad nauseum, so whatever. And then around the 145, playtesting the rogue. He was getting on a low-level rogue and playtesting that. So that was basically what was going on for the next little while he was discussing things. Added more stuff to Wild's End, especially something equivalent to HC. So this part right here is basically saying, somebody asked the question of, how are you going to make Wild's End more desirable? And basically, he was saying adding more stuff like a HC type dungeon, so How Near Cave style dungeon over in the wilds inside, and trying to have more destinations, meaning that more places to go for players to XP, to get gear, those kinds of things. So he specifically mentioned destination items, meaning, like you want to go into How Near Cave specifically to go get the Rip Smack, for example, or you might want to go to a specific location to get a specific item. And he wants to start adding in stuff over in the wilds inside to get people to specifically go over there to do that. That is kind of the goal and how they're planning on getting people to go to Wild's End and also stay in Wild's End for more of a duration. Animations will be polished. That is confirmed. I think we've had that discussion multiple times, but he did confirm it again. The con system explanation, if you are curious on what the con system will be, there's a little bit of an explanation at the hour 58-minute mark. Again, I just went over that a few minutes ago, but it's basically expanding the amount of the mobs that you will be able to fight effectively, giving you XP for a longer term rather than it just leveling out of it around 5 levels above. Possibility of a mentor system. Around the 2-hour, 6-minute mark in, he talked about a possibility of a mentor system. What this means is you will take a higher level character and you will mentor down to a lower level character so that you can group with your friends. I don't necessarily think this needs to happen right now, since a level 40 character can group with a level 26 character. 26 is the lowest that a level 40 can group with, and currently they would still get a ton of XP. So the level 40 character kills like a level 40 mob. The level 26 character gets XP based on that level 40. So you could power level your friends very, very easily. There's really no use for a mentor system, but they did talk about adding a mentor system later on, possibly with a population, going up and down in the game. So based on those kinds of things. A housing system, taming, boats are all things Joppa would like in the game. He talks about this around the 2-hour, 9-minute mark. Taming will be for turning animal NPCs into mounts. So that is basically what taming will be for. It will not be for, taming pets like it won't be for like rangers taming wolf pets or something like a hunter did in World of Warcraft. It won't be something along those lines. However, they did talk about druids will be getting a charm pet or charm animal type ability sometime in the future. Talked about the mastery system again. This is something that's been talked about in many, many streams at the 2-hour, 15-minute mark. So if you want to hear more about the mastery, he didn't go over anything new or exciting on it. But if you've never heard about that, he basically goes over the mastery system. A little bit more of the druid started around the 2-hour, 16-minute mark, where he just basically plays the druid for the remainder of the stream. But I say remainder of the stream. Most of it was just sitting there answering questions. So don't go if you want to get a bunch of, that kind of stuff. Let's see. Rain improvements. He did show off some rain improvements at the 2-hour, 19-minute mark. The rain does look a little bit better. Still needs some improvement. At the 2-hour, 23-minute mark, Spirit of Wolf will be usable by Rangers, but lower version than the Druid. So I made a comment that basically Spirit of Wolf I felt like was too fast, and if you're going to be giving that to Druids, I think it also needs to go to other classes, much like the Resurrect ability for Cleric and Shaman both get Resurrect. It's a very needed skill. So Spirit of Wolf is going to be coming to Rangers. However, it will not be as powerful. It is on Druid, and it may also come to the Shaman, but the Shaman has Windstrider, and they're looking at doing more synergy with that rather than giving Shaman both Spirit of Wolf and Windstrider. So we'll have to see how that plays out. What I mean by Rangers will be a lower power. The Spirit of Wolf scales with the Druid, and the Ranger will also scale, or the Spirit of Wolf for Ranger will also scale with the Ranger, but they're going to get it at a later level. So you're not going to be able to get it up as high. That's basically what that means. 2-hour, 27-minute mark. Possibility, bring back the launcher for purchase in addition to the Steam. So if you don't want to use the Steam client, you can actually get the launcher. It's a possibility that will come back, but it may not. After that, he had a very long discussion about why it took so long for the game to be made, because it's been in production for about 11 years. If you want to go back and listen to the whole thing, go for it. It's around the 2 hour, 30-minute mark or so. But basically, the long and short of it is the game has had a lot of bumps in the road over time. And the direction that the game was going in has changed multiple times through multiple iterations, and now this is the one that we are currently on, which is why it seems like the game has been reset multiple times. So this iteration has only been going on, I believe, for a couple of years now, maybe a year. So that's kind of we're a year into development, although we have some things from the back end that were just made previously. So that kind of gives you some of that information. Again, if you want to get more information on that 2 hour, 30-minute mark, give or take. 245. People were asking, why are we adding another class again? They're adding in Druid right now. They're going to be adding in Bard later on. Why are we adding in another class without fixing the current classes? And Joppa's response to that is basically he wants to have more classes to represent more people. And that was kind of his idea of that, is he wants everyone to be represented prior to fixing other classes. Once the Druid is in, however, the plan is to get the other classes moving. He said, quote, "I do want the other classes moving." At 248, Bards are support, not DPS focused. They will have charm. That was confirmed during the stream. Let's see, but they are going to be mostly support. You're not going to be doing a lot of DPS with them through their actual abilities. 2 hours, 50 minutes is hair, skin colors, facial features, etc. All those things will be added in before new races are added. They are looking at changing up a lot of that. So expect all those things to happen on the current races before new races come in. I know a lot of people were talking about Gnome and Scar and the Ashai, I believe. Those kind of things are all things that people want. 2 hour, 54-minute mark. The next coming up content. This has no date to it, but the next things that they plan to work on. So this is a rough order. This is by no means guaranteed or anything like that. I want to preface that because I don't want to get Joppa in trouble for saying that something was promised and it was not promised, and it wasn't actually promised. Currently, right now, they're working on the Wild Bloods in Silent Plains. This is the low 30s group stuff that you have a little bit of in the Silent Plains. Next up, they expect to release the Ash Breathers, which is the mid 30s to 40s range, or 240 range. After that, this is the stuff that's all in the works and planned in this order. However, it may change. So Black Rose Keep starting development soon. Around the level 20 mark is going to be the low end, all the way up to possibly the 40 area. So that's going to be a huge area in Black Rose Keep. Next up after that is going to be Nightfall Crypt, then Abandoned Keep and AVP, Orcs in Wild's End, Daydrums, I believe Ascent is what he called it. Rulu camps in Eastern Plains are meant to be a big deal. And then there's Dead Shoals in Eastern Plains. So those are all things that they want to add in and hopefully start working on soon. Again, these are all things that are coming, but we don't have dates on when they will happen. Karagos, the dragon that is in Throne Fast, is actually right around the corner from where I'm at. It's right over there. That mob is going to be a raid mob and ultimately will be an event that happens. So it's like he's going to be flying in and landing, and there will be a whole event happening around that. That is the plan for it in the future. Around the 3 hour, 5-minute mark, they are heavily in planning. This was talking about a roadmap, so they are hopefully going to get a roadmap out to us, but currently they're working on more of an internal roadmap, and they are in the hiring process. But again, Joppa doesn't deal with any of those things, so he could not really comment further. The Spider is down in Mad Run, all the way down to the bottom, level 40. Spider is technically considered a raid mob, according to Joppa. I believe this is more like a 2-group mob, so technically it is a raid because it is 2 groupable. But that is what he was saying, is that technically is a raid target. No other raid targets are currently in the game that I know of. But he did go further to say that raids will be, majority of them will be instance raids. We talked about that in the last update video, but they will be majority instance raids. There will be some contested overworld raids where you can just basically zerg them, throw whatever you can at them. You get the entire server involved if you want to, but the majority of raids will be instance in some way. It will not be, like I said previously, where you go into a Hownir Cave and you have the entire dungeon to your raid, but it will be a specific room where the raid boss is that will be locked off for your raid. So it'll be like going into Hownir Cave, going all the way down to the bottom and going into a special room to fight a special boss, or possibly going into another area, you know, out in an open world area, and it locks you into that little area to do the world boss. That was pretty much it on the update. There was lots and lots and lots of question and answer for the last hour and a half of the stream. So if you want to go sift through that, you are more than welcome to go do that. But I tried to pick out the main points.